The month of May was fantastic for the Rangers big league club, but it was also fantastic for one of their top prospects, Jack Leiter. On today's show, I'm breaking down what went right for the Rangers and what went wrong for the Rangers in the minor leagues in the month of May. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Today is Friday, June 2nd. Your Rangers are still 35-20, still alone atop the AL West with a 2.5 game lead on those Houston Astros. Before we get into the minor league business of it all, and a little bit later a look around the AL West where the other teams stack up behind the Rangers. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, the biggest story for the month of May was obviously the Major League Club being incredible, building on their lead in the AL West, and pretty much proving that they are one of, if not the best teams in all of baseball. And I talked all about that on yesterday's episode. If you haven't listened to that, go ahead and check that out for just a nice bath in the fantastic month of May that was for the big league club. But now we're going to do it for the minor league club. There was some good, some bad, and some ugly in the month of May for the Rangers minor leagues. And the good has to start with prospect Jack Leiter. There's not a whole lot of good things coming from Jack Leiter last season. The strikeouts were there. The stuff was there. The walks were bad. The command with the fastball was bad. And it was probably a little bit too aggressive of an assignment, but the Rangers said, hey, we picked this guy second overall. We think that we really believe in him, and yeah, it's a huge jump to go from, college baseball right into the Texas League, but we think this kid is capable of doing it. And, he handled himself pretty well last year, but still the struggles were evident, and the things that he was struggling with didn't get a whole lot better throughout the season, and that was the most frustrating part of the year, at least for me, while watching Jack Leiter last year. The stuff was evident. The fastball, fantastic. The breaking stuff, well, the curveball wasn't quite as much there as it has been this year, and it was fantastic at college. The slider made a lot of progress, but he just wasn't having that consistency. And in the first month of the season for the Rangers, it looked like a lot more of the same. 15 walks in his first 20 innings. That was in April in 5 starts there. And you know what? The last few starts, basically the entire month of May, outside of one really kind of ugly start where he gave up 7 walks, a career high in 4 innings, but he only allowed 1 run in that start. But outside of that, the entire month of May has been fantastic for Jack Leiter. In his 5 starts, he's gone 27 innings, averaging over 5 innings per start, 33 strikeouts to 13 walks, and again, more than half of those walks came in the 1 start, and a 1.67 ERA. At the end of April, his ERA was 6.75. Now for the season, it's down to 3.83. He went 6 innings, 5 innings, 6 innings, 4 innings, and 6 innings in those starts, including a career high 10 strikeouts in the May 17th game, which I think was his best game by far. He had 1 walk in that one, and his most recent outing, just the 1 run, came on a solo shot, and 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. The stuff was nasty, and Grant Schiller, a correspondent from Baseball Prospectus and frequent guest on the show, was out there to watch his May 31st start, and he had a lot of insight on what was going well. He was commanding the fastball very well, which is a huge development for him. He said he only had a couple of bad yanks on those, and one resulted in a hit by pitch. But he was sitting in the upper 90s, which is where he's been. He's touched 99 several times this season, sitting in those mid 90s, which is about where you want it. And with the the movement on his fastball and that velocity, it is really difficult to pick up. And one of the things that's really gone well for Leiter is improving that command. That was the first and foremost thing with him. The breaking stuff is really nice. The stuff overall is really nice, but if he can command it, he had a little bit of walk problems at Vanderbilt, but they're college hitters, and even in the SEC, they aren't quite able to take advantage as much of command struggles when you've got that kind of incredible stuff. The curveball just wasn't really there for him last year, and somehow in the month of May, he just he just found it again, and it looked fantastic. He was able to get it for some called strikes, able to get it out of the zone when he needed to, and induce those swings and misses. And people had to respect the fastball and the curveball, and the difference in velocity there is pretty significant. And if he's still got that effective slider as well, then man, the sky is the limit for this guy. I haven't seen that much talk about what his changeup is doing this year. I think he's still committed to throwing that cutter, which is his dad's signature pitch. He threw really, really well. But the Rangers kind of took the reins off of him, the training wheels off of him for the last month, and just kind of said, all right, stop focusing so much on the process, just go out there and get results. And I think that has made all the difference in the world. He's been more aggressive. He has been more of that kind of, F you attitude that we saw at Vanderbilt, the kind of attitude that you want in your best pitchers. The kind of attitude that Jacob deGrom has when he goes out there with every pitch. Same with Nathan Eovaldi, those top dogs that are just like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to not only beat you, I'm going to embarrass you. And that is a lot of what Jack Leiter has done in this month of May. It has been a truly fantastic development. And if he keeps this up, then I think he could see AAA by July. I mean, maybe even by mid-June, if he has another couple of starts like this. I mean, this is what the Rangers have been looking for from him. If he's commanding that fastball, then that is the biggest thing that opens up literally everything from him. And I know that we weren't, Grant and I were, neither of us were, worried. We were mildly concerned at the end of last year, and after the first month, we thought, okay, I thought these things would be getting better. There is no question that he was going to put in the work to try and figure these things out, and so far, that is coming true. I mean, he's a smart kid, a talented kid, has all the tools around him, just works his absolute butt off. I thought that it was going to be a pretty immediate shift once he came in this year of like, okay, went into the Vanderbilt lab, went and did work in the offseason with a lot of those guys, the former Vandy pitchers that are either in the majors or, still at Vanderbilt, and the Vanderbilt coaching staff at all the training facilities that they have there in Nashville. And I thought that whatever the issue was, he would be able to iron it out. And it didn't look like that early on in the season. I thought, okay. It didn't look like that in spring training. I thought, okay, well, maybe eventually down the road this season, then we'll see him start to figure it out and kind of like look away for the first month and kind of check back after at some point in May. And he started checking back each and every start and thought, okay, all right. He is definitely growing and gaining some steam on that front. And this has been honestly one of the biggest positive developments the Rangers have had in the minor leagues, if not, no, I'm going to say, yeah, it is the most positive development in the minor leagues that the Rangers have had this year is Jack Leiter. If he can figure out that fastball command and make it stick, he's not going to be a guy who has, Jacob deGrom level precision and, command, but control, or just like keep it in the zone and know where you're locating your fastball. Don't miss glove side every single time, and he's not doing that anymore. And that is a huge, huge win for the Rangers. They used a number 2 pick on this guy for a reason. I still might have rather gone with Jordan Lawler, but hey, if you can develop that top end kind of talent, which is what Jack Leiter's ceiling is, then that is a huge, huge development and huge win for your team that has not developed pitching in basically ever. Definitely not a frontline starter in the longest time, maybe ever. And if you can develop a number 1, number 2 kind of guy in Jack Leiter and have him under team control for a long time, that is going to go a huge, huge way in extending this Rangers window to where they're not only winning just now, but for years to come. And another guy who's going to be a big part of that window is Evan Carter. The month of May was not particularly kind to him. We're going to get into why I'm not super worried about that. I'm almost encouraged by his struggles, if you can say that. I can say that, and I will, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But first, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Forget the months of planning in advance and all your hassle there. Game Time is the best way to get your deal on last minute tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% the difference. Get images of your tickets before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you are set. You are good to go. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, shout out to the everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, on Monday's show, I'll be breaking down this weekend's series against the Mariners. Hopefully, a series win for Texas. But you can catch every pitch of this series with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, another, I want to say positive development, even though it was struggles for Evan Carter. This is something that I wanted to see from Evan Carter. He's not been in a prolonged slump in his entire minor league career, and I think the Rangers wanted to see that before they promoted him to AAA. He had that incredible first month of the season in April. He had an OPS of 1,043, hit 340, on base of 500, slugging 543, like just really exceptional stuff for him. And then the month of May happened, and things did not go nearly as well for Evan Carter. Just a 236 batting average, on base still significantly higher and 333, and slugged just 281. No home runs for him in this month, just 2 doubles and 1 triple in 102 plate appearances. Now he did get hit really early in the month in the arm by a pitch, and I think that's something from that. I remember listening to a podcast, Rangers on Deck, and they were talking about that bothering him just a little bit. So he's been playing hurt, not injured. And so I think that is maybe led to a little bit of the struggles for him as of late. It's been a little better in the last week or so than it was for overall in May. He has a 364 on base, and one of those 2 extra base hits in the last 7 days, 5 games, a 641 OPS. But still, the overall numbers is still a 791 OPS for him in 41 games, and he is still a 19-year-old in AA. That is still fairly advanced and a very impressive feat for him. I still think that they're probably going to keep him around at least until mid-season. I think June we'll maybe start to see him break out of this slump, or maybe he'll continue slumping and have to figure out how to break out of it. I mean, again, this is the first prolonged slump of his minor league career. It's good for you. Everyone slumps occasionally, no matter what level, and the best players have to learn how to fight their way out of it and figure out what's been going wrong and, change that and break out of it. And I have every confidence in the world that Evan Carter will do that. But it's been a rough go of it for May. So all of those concerns, I remember I did an episode, I believe it was on May 4th or 5th, when everyone was calling for Evan Carter to be promoted to the big leagues and Leody Taveras to be sent down or cut or whatever they wanted to happen with Leody Taveras. And, well, Evan Carter hit 200 or something for the month in May in AA, and Leody Taveras hit like 387 in the month of May in the big league. So not to toot my own horn, but absolutely to toot my own horn that I was 110% correct there. But some other guys that are definitely worth mentioning. One of the biggest trade bait pieces I believe the Rangers have is Justin Foscue, their first round pick from 2020, a guy who plays third base and second and left field. Kind of. He doesn't really have a position. He is a DH. He is a guy who hits and hits a lot. And when he gets on a heater, he absolutely gets on a heater. The last 7 days for him in 5 games, he's got a pair of home runs, hitting 400, on base of 591, slugging 933, a 1524 OPS in those last 7 days so far this year. He has an 895 OPS. Hitting 279, on base over 400. That slugging is not quite up to 500. And when you're a guy who does not have a position and is going to need to rake quite a bit, hopefully the indication of him having 2 home runs in the last 7 days is kind of a showing that, he is going to get on a heater and start to just absolutely lace it up. He actually had both of those home runs in the same game against the Albuquerque Isotopes on the 27th of May. So maybe the Albuquerque air helped with that a little bit. But the guy's got raw power, and we've seen him go on these massive home run binges. He did where he had something like 8 straight games with a home run in Hickory a couple years back. So if he can get on a heater for the next month or so, and the Rangers can use him to flip him for a big relief arm, I think that would be great. I do still think he's a big leaguer. He's just completely blocked by the Rangers' depth. There's just they have no extra room for a DH. They already have a DH that doesn't play in Brad Miller on the roster, and after some discussion with some of Rangers Twitter, I think that Brad Miller might still end up being on the roster even after Ezekiel Duran and Mitch Garver find their way back into the lineup. By the way, Mitch Garver in his time in Round Rock has been, absolutely crushing it. 6 games in his rehab stint so far, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, hitting 316 and OPS of 1217. I think he's ready for the big leagues. Hopefully we will see him this weekend against Seattle. If not, that I think at the latest we'll see him by that Monday series against the Cardinals. But still, the Rangers really, really need a heater of a hot streak for Justin Foscue, because I think he's a good prospect. I think he could be an okay major leaguer for a team that needs some bats. Cough, cough. The Miami Marlins could use a bat. Same with the Milwaukee Brewers. And if the team's got relievers to spare, Justin Foscue, make your way to wherever this is, and best of luck with your major league career. The rest of the guys that are worth watching in AAA so far, I talked a little bit about Spencer Howard coming back, his first outing, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts of perfect baseball. He is on a rehab stint. He is, I'm pretty sure, I'm really hoping that the Rangers have given up on Spencer Howard, starting pitcher, and are now giving a lot of credence to Spencer Howard, back end bullpen flamethrower, which kind of always felt like it was going to be his role. Good to see him go out there and not walk anybody and get a couple of strikeouts. I'm going to be really keeping an eye close on what he looks like as a back-end reliever. Hopefully he's ditched that changeup and the fastball can tick up into the high 90s, and that cutter can work even better, and maybe the curveball will also work as well, and just kind of ditch that changeup, just be a 2 or 3 pitch pitcher in the bullpen, which is all you really need to be when you are a back-end bullpen guy, which it seems like he is right now. Grant Anderson is up in the big leagues after some really solid time in AAA and a fantastic debut earlier this week, and I am really excited to see if he sticks in the big league pen. I think he will, and I don't think there's a whole lot coming behind him in terms of Taylor Hearn is still having a bunch of issues with his walks, 5.6 walks per 9 in 22 and a third innings in AAA, and a 3.63 ERA. If he can get that figured out, then maybe he can come back to the big league pen. He's got the stuff for it. But again, that walk issue is going to be a problem. Yuri Rodriguez has not had the best year overall, and still having more strikeouts than walks, or more strikeouts per 9 than walks per 9 by a significant margin, or not quite significant enough. 7.5 walks per 9. He has been really struggling with that this year, but 11.2 Ks per 9. So I don't know. Maybe he'll end up getting another call back to the big league at some point if there is another injury to the Rangers relievers, or they decide to cut bait with one of the guys in the mid-relief kind of role. But another guy that I wanted to talk about, go back to AA, which is kind of where a lot of the Rangers' top prospects are, and definitely guys who deserve some love. Another guy who deserves some love, it has not been, doing all that well, but it's good to see him back on the field. The guy who was my number 6 prospect before the season, Aaron Zavala. It has been a little bit of a struggle for him so far. A 365 on base, which is exactly what you're hoping for from him through his first 12 games after coming back from injury, but only the 1 home run, which is his only extra base hit, hitting .238, slugging just .310, a 675 OPS. I think that power will come back. I'm not really worried about it, but would have liked to see him break out a little bit more in his first couple of games back. But again, it's been a while. He had a partial UCL tear. He missed from the fall. He was supposed to play in the fall league, so he just missed basically all of spring training. So I guess this still is, you can kind of count it as a spring training. Check back in July and see if he is still an on-base machine, which he absolutely will be, even if he never swings the bat. Even if his swing looks terrible, which it doesn't. It looks great for the most part. But even if he's not feeling right swinging the bat because he is still coming back from that injury, the discipline is always going to be there, and probably going to be his greatest asset for him. But another pitcher in AA that I wanted to talk about is Tekoah Roby, who had an excellent month of May. Don't sleep on this guy. He might end up being the one of the better. His ceiling is not quite Jack Leiter, but his ceiling is really high. It is a mid-rotation number 3 starter, I think, and I really believe in him being able to do that. In the month of May, he made 4 starts, and he had an ERA of, where'd we go? Oh my gosh, all these splits on Baseball Reference are so confusing. A 2.82 ERA in 4 starts, 22 and a third innings, 24 strikeouts to just 4 walks. Only 1 walk in each of his last 4 starts. Actually, each of his last 5 starts, he's only had 1 walk. Went 6 innings, 6 and a third innings, 4 innings, and then 6 innings in those outings. Just a really, really solid pitcher who had a lot of work done to rework his delivery last year. It took him a little while for those mechanics to iron out, and it seems like he is more sure in those mechanics, and he's been having really, really good results, including his last game on the 27th against Arkansas. 6 innings, just 1 run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. That is fantastic stuff from Tekoah Roby, who looks really freaking good. The third round pick for the Rangers in that 2020 draft, which the class of 2020 for the Rangers in the draft is looking absolutely phenomenal so far. Don't sleep on Tekoah Roby. He's definitely a guy to keep your eye on. Owen White, the velocity is still not quite back. He's still having some middling results. 10 starts, 46 in a third innings. And the strikeouts are down to 7.6 per 9. The walks are at 3.9 per 9. I think he's pitching hurt, but he is pitching through it, and he is getting okay results. I honestly might rather the Rangers just sit him for a little bit, and whatever this issue is, just get him fully right and back to looking like the prospect that we saw last year that was truly dominant this year. He's been a battler, but not quite as dominant. Coming up, we're going to look at the low minors and a quick look around the rest of the American League West, which the Rangers are still on top of. But first, this word from our sponsors. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every day. Again, on Monday's show, I'll be talking about this weekend series against the Mariners. Rangers take them on this weekend, and you can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, the lower minors. Let's take a look at what's going on there. It's mostly pitching is the highlights of what's going on there. And it has to start with Josh Steffen, who is a 21-year-old in high A with Hickory. He has been truly excellent this season. A 2.18 ERA in 8 games, 7 of those were starts, 41 in the third innings, 43 strikeouts to just 8 walks. Fewer than 2 walks per 9, more than 9 strikeouts per 9, and under a homer per 9. Not allowing a whole lot of base runners, a whip below 0.8 at 0.798. Really freaking good. And, he's 21 years old and in high. I imagine that pretty soon he's going to get a call up to Double A if he keeps this up. He has been excellent, as has most of the starting rotation in high A. Kumar Rocker is out for the season with Tommy John surgery. He was really starting to turn a corner, and we thought that he might be close on a promotion. Chris Young said that he was close to getting promotion before he suffered that Tommy John surgery. That's a real bummer, but I'm still not at all low on the ceiling for Kumar Rocker. I love what I saw from him this year. It's a bummer we're not going to see him for a while, but I have every confidence in the world he's going to come back and be truly dominant when the Rangers do see him next. Winston Santos has not had the most consistent year. The strikeouts are down. The walks are still low, but he's getting eaten up by the home run ball. 2 homers per 9 for him, a 5.20 ERA in 8 games, 7 starts, 36 in a third innings. But the teenage Canadian sensation Mitch Bratt has been excellent as well, a sub-3 ERA in 8 starts, 33 in a third innings, 39 strikeouts, just 1.9 walks per 9 and 10.5 strikeouts per 9. That's a lot of what I'm looking for in these pitchers in the lower levels. If they are able to avoid the walks and get a lot of swings and misses, that is a really, really good sign. And so far, Mitch Bratt has done that, and I am really encouraged by what I've seen from him. Hitter-wise, in high A, let's just move on. Let's just move on, because there's not a whole lot going there. Maximo Acosta fell back down to earth just a little bit after a really great start. Not anything horrible. I still think he is a much better prospect than I thought of him. I should think of him more highly now, and I do, than I did at the beginning of the season. But down east with a lot of the teenage guys who had a lot of hype and didn't have the best April offensively, including Anthony Gutierrez, Glider Figueroa, Daniel Cueva, Jason Morabel. That started to look a little bit better in this month of May for one guy in particular, and that is Jason Morabel. 16 games in May, hit .316, an on-base of .381, slugged .386. Still would like to see a little bit more power, but he's 19 years old. The power comes. It eventually will come. A .767 OPS in May versus .523 in April. Gutierrez, it was kind of the opposite. He was one of the few that had a pretty decent April. A .652 OPS, a .319 on base, but it dropped way down in May. A .584 OPS in May. It's fine. He's an 18-year-old in full season ball. The fact that they assigned him there is a really big sign of how highly they rate that guy. And so that is the main thing that you should take away from his results there. And in terms of starting pitching in down east, it has been really great. Honestly, truly exceptional, especially Brock Porter. 8 starts for him, a 107 ERA, 25 in a third innings, 35 strikeouts to 16 walks, so 5.7 walks per 9, 12.4 strikeouts per 9, just 3.9 hits per 9, and has not yet allowed a home run. Again, mechanics with him are kind of funky. Had a lot of head whip and, wasn't always even looking at the catcher when he was throwing pitches in high school. But when you have the changeup as good as his, it can really erase a lot of mistakes. And his changeup is just way too good for LowA right now. He is turning 20 tomorrow after this episode is released. So happy early birthday to Brock Porter. Really encouraged by the results. I think that they're going to keep him here probably for the full year. Maybe at the end of the year, they'll send him up to Hickory. But I think this is where he needs to stick until he can get more sure of those new mechanics. Results have been really nice, and I've been encouraged by that. Jose Corniel has also had some really good results. 11.7 Ks per nine, 3.8 walks per nine. Aiden Curry leads the team with 38 and a third innings pitched, 8 games, 6 starts for him. 2.6 walks per nine, 12.7 Ks per nine, and a 2.35 ERA. Just a lot of really good pitching up and down. Dylan McLean, who was also, I believe, a part of that draft class in 2020, if I'm remembering correctly. They're Rangers' 4th round pick out of Central Catholic High School in Portland, Oregon, in 2020. He's been really solid so far. The lefty has a 2.93 ERA in 8 games, 3 starts and 3 games finished, 27 and 2/3 innings, more strikeouts than innings pitched, 10.1 Ks per nine, 2.6 walks per nine. Really nice stuff from him. DJ McCarty as well, Jose Corniel, Joseph Montalvo as well. Like all of these guys, and Josh Gessner too. Like all of these guys have been putting up some really good performances. A lot of piggyback tandem starts because the Rangers have a lot of guys there. They want to get innings and don't want to stretch out too far. Brock Porter's usually throwing 3 to 4-ish innings per outing, including his last inning against the Carolina Mudcats, which was perfect, literally perfect. 3 innings of perfect baseball with 4 strikeouts, no walks, no hit batters, no hits, no runs, no nothing, and 38 pitches. So keeping that pitch count down as well. He's been usually in the 50s to 60s in his outings, hasn't gone more than 4 innings in an outing just yet, but still really impressive stuff from the Rangers' fourth round draft pick, who got paid like a first round draft pick because of that weird Kumar Rocker drafting and signing. But let's take a quick look around the AL West before we call it a week and join back on Monday. The Rangers are atop the AL West. Yeah, they're still atop the AL West. I'm going to say it about 1 million times because I got to remind myself that it's true and also enjoy it. I know it's easy to kind of get wrapped up in what goes wrong for the Rangers and some of those annoying close bullpen losses, but you got to savor being on top of the division at this point. Maybe it will hold, maybe it won't. Maybe the Astros will go on some miracle run. The Rangers will kind of fall back down to earth a little bit, but this is still a really freaking good team and a really freaking good division. The Astros, like I said, are on a tear as of late. Jose Urquidy and Luis Garcia are out. I believe it's Garcia that is out with Tommy John surgery, so he'll be out for the year. Actually, no, I think it's Urquidy who's out for the year with Tommy John surgery, and Garcia, who had a shoulder injury, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. But of course, the Astros and their stupid pitching development factory have just called up guys who've been fantastic. Brandon Bielak is a 3.19 ERA in 6 games. 5 of those are starts for him. Just looks mostly fine. JP France has been also really good in 5 starts, a 4 ERA, which is the worst in their starting rotation. Well, now that Jose Urquidy and his 5.2 ERA are out, Hunter Brown has been not quite rookie of the year, but still pretty good. Framber Valdez is still one of the best pitchers in baseball. Christian Javier has also been very consistent for them at the top of their rotation. The bullpen has been a little bit more back down to earth. Ryan Presley has an ERA over 3, but they still have a billion relievers that are all really good. The offense, of course, with the addition of Jose Altuve, who has been back for 10 games now. Altuve has a 962 OPS and is looking dangerous. Kyle Tucker is still doing fine. Yordan Alvarez is still absolutely crushing it. Finally, Jose Abreu had his first home run of the season this week, and I don't have any hate to Jose Abreu except for the fact that he's on the Astros. It was good to see him celebrate his first home run with Houston. He was literally sprinting around the bases in Oakland and sprinted right into the dugout. Faster than who am I thinking of? I was about to say Adam Frazier, but that's not Adam Rosales. Faster than Adam Rosales running around the bases was Jose Abreu after hitting that first home run. They are surging, but they are still behind the Astros, or behind the Rangers, 2.5 games. Next on the list is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, who are still having a go at third place in the AL West, 30 and 28. The starting pitching has been not quite as good as I thought it would be. The offense has been pretty consistent. Guys outside of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani are hitting. Hunter Renfroe is doing a solid job. Anthony Rendon is hurt. Well, shocker. Brandon Drury is doing a pretty good job for them, mostly playing at second base. And Zach Neto, who was drafted, I believe, a year ago, is holding his own after being called up to the big leagues. Shohei Ohtani is doing Shohei Ohtani things. Patrick Sandoval is pretty good. The rest of the rotation, not quite as good as I anticipated. Tyler Anderson's come back down to earth. Reed Detmers has not been great. Griffin Canning has not been great. And Jose Suarez has not been great and is on the IL. The bullpen's pretty solid for them, but Matt Moore is on the IL, so maybe they are starting to crumble back down to earth. And the Seattle Mariners, who everyone was so sure that were a dynasty, and they're the team the Rangers were playing coming in this week. Starting pitching has been really good. Jared Kelenic is coming back down to earth after his incredible month of April. Julio Rodriguez is starting to heat up after a really difficult stretch for him there, where he was getting benched and getting dropped further in the lineup. But still, their offense is not nearly as consistent or as deep as the Rangers. Starting pitching is still incredible for them. The Rangers are going to see some really, really good starting pitching this weekend. The matchups on Friday night, John Gray versus Luis Castillo. That's going to be fantastic. Marco Gonzalez versus Andrew Heaney on Saturday. And then Bryce Miller, spells with a Y, so he's my mortal enemy, and Nathan Eovaldi on the Sunday game. That's going to be a fantastic duel. Bryce Miller, despite spelling his first name incorrectly, is electrifying to watch, and I will be rooting hard against him for him to change the spelling of his first name for Bryce's everywhere. But going to be a fantastic weekend series for the Rangers, some great starting pitching, and hopefully the Rangers bats just absolutely batter them, and maybe it's not even a close series. The Rangers really need this one. Keep those Mariners at bay, keep them around 500, and start to gain some distance in a critical month of June, where maybe the Rangers can still continue to be one of the best teams in all of baseball and make haters finally believe. Thank you all so much for listening to Locked On Rangers. That's going to do it for this week's editions, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.